you said something awesome there, just with the talent you have, right? Making them the stars. That's sort of been the through line of this episode of PWT here. Speaking of which, the 4 men on this screen right here.
Yes.
Not necessarily WWE, like, homegrowns, if you will. 3 of these men aren't, of the 4 in the picture. The man leading them is, I tweeted out, we live in a timeline, right, guys, where the Gorillas of Destiny and Jacob Fatu are fighting Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. This is insane, dude. Who would have ever thought in a world we would be here? But these 4 guys, man, people, they've doubted Solo. I said, nah, he will be that guy. I liked his people don't, he can't really no one really gave him a chance. I've always liked his promo work. It's not the best, but it's like, okay, Roman's wasn't either. And they make it work for the way it's booked. Just this whole bloodline situation on this episode of SmackDown was worth watching alone, just for that Jacob Fatu segment, which we'll get to. We'll take a little bit of time here, breeze through this pretty quick, and we'll mostly talk about the bloodline stuff. But these 4 guys, man, everyone doubted it. Oh, I'm not feeling the new bloodline. Solo's boring. And I thought Tama, the way they were booking him, was great. I'm happy they brought Loa in, although it seems that he's not really doing much. He's not even really wrestling or doing much, but that's okay. I'm totally fine with that. The GODs are here. I didn't even expect him to ever come, to be honest. Tonga Loa. And then this man shows up, Jacob Fatu, and just absolutely has the wrestling world buzzing. And just if these 3 right here weren't enough to get you into it, everybody's hyped on Jacob Fatu. And this guy is the future. We want to talk about the future, man. That guy is the future biggest heel, if he's not going to be in the next year or 2 already in WWE. And for him to come in out of nowhere and need special help and counsel to get his ass in Canada and all this sort of thing, and they're using it as a real storyline, whereas they probably shy away from that in the past, and they're like, no, this guy can't get in the country. Graves, Corey, he's not allowed in Canada, that that whole thing, dude. It's brilliant. This whole storyline, it's reinvigorated. My only criticism is I don't like that Solo's just like, and Roman, you're a bitch, basically. It would have been cool if it was just like Solo sort of running rampant, and then Roman just shows up out of nowhere and is like, what are you doing, little loose? But that's my only criticism. You could call that a nitpick even, whatever. I think we get Roman come back at SummerSlam. No, do you? Is that hotshot booking, or do you? That to me is what
no. That's exactly. This is the thing about WWE. Hotshot booking is like what they did with Toni Storm and Mariah May, where I'm expecting somebody to turn heel. I don't know who, but I want a story first so I can get a feel for, it's going to either Toni Storm gets increasingly jealous of Mariah May and has her clean her dog and just kind of reminds her that you're an underling, hey, I need you to do this commercial for me, and then Mariah May finally built up a head of steam and turn, or Mariah May starts getting a little big for her britches. That don't work for me, sister. And then eventually Toni Storm is presented as a babyface. But what they did is they skipped 2 months of storytelling and they just had Mariah May turn. So now it's dependent on them to tell another story. With this, it's I'm fully I thought there was a chance that Roman Reigns could come back at Money in the Bank. The only reason I didn't think so is because CM Punk was there. So it's you don't want to blow, and John Cena was there. So you don't want to blow all these returns. Yeah. But I fully expect Roman Reigns to come back at SummerSlam because they've been telling you a story in a way that's getting people to chant, we want Roman every single week. And I agree with your nitpick in that it's good. It's better with subtlety that he doesn't even acknowledge Roman, pun intended. But at the same time, it's Roman is such a big part of this story. They're chanting, we want Roman. You kind of have to address the elephant in the room a little bit so that when he does return, it's it's a moment that people are ready for. And I love the Bloodline because you know what the Bloodline reminds me of? The Bloodline. They're doing the same exact thing as they did with the Bloodline Network. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They got the twins and the Gorilla of Destiny, right? They got these twins who are just like the Usos, and they're doing this nuance that I love, that's got a little bit of realism to it, is they've got Jacob Fatu as the enforcer. And he comes off as more OP as Solo Sikoa. So all the internet wrestling nerds are watching this like, why isn't Jacob Fatu the tribal chief? It's like, these are fake beads that real people are getting worked up over.
Yeah.
So they're doing this on purpose, by the way, is that Jacob Fatu is the most powerful person in the bloodline. Just like when Solo Sikoa was the enforcer, he was the most powerful person in the bloodline if you really pay attention. Like when Roman, he would be like, Solo! And everybody would get scared. Like,
his music
that
would
guy
hit,
was
dude.
the most powerful guy. And there was this little thing that happened that told me that there's going to be a feud between Roman and Solo at the WrestleMania main event. Is Solo was like instructing Roman Reigns to beat Cody Rhodes. He's like, come on, get it over with. And Roman's like, I'm trying. And so it's like Solo is starting to be like the alpha.
And that's intentional. They are they've been doing it for years. Like this whole bloodline story, Roman said it. Everything we do matters in this ring. Like every face, every word we say, it all matters. And it's shown in spades, man. And I agree, dude. At first I was like, see, when I fantasy Mark booked it before Jacob showed up, I was like, dude, you have Jacob Fatu. He's like the flippin' cool guy with Jimmy and Jay, and they bring him into like, he's like a cool flippy guy who can do flips. But no, dude, they brought him in the right way. I was wrong. They brought him in as like the monster heel. And then how did they position? No, he's my enforcer now. And da-da-da. God, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And it's it's just what you said. And I love that it's like the two Tongan brothers with like baby brother Solo. And then on the other side, you'll have Jimmy and Jay Uso, who are Solo's brothers. And then allegedly Hikuleo's coming in.
Yeah.
That's apparently signed up. And
I don't know how long you can go with this bloodline because people are going to roll their eyes at the idea of a third generation bloodline. But the thing is, like, they're doing this with this bloodline where it's like Solo is the enforcer. Now he's a tribal chief. He got himself an enforcer in Jacob Fatu. And I think, like, eventually if they do another iteration, it'll be Jacob Fatu's the tribal chief. Hikuleo is his enforcer. So now we're saying, like, well, look at this big, tall guy. He should be you know what I mean? So I don't know if they're going to do this in generations or if they're just going to bring all these Samoans in for a big War Games match. But I'm here for generation after generation of the bloodline. As long as it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Dude, yes. And they have Zilla too. Like I know for sure, like he's working in Reality of Wrestling and and he's there working with Booker and like WWE. He's a WWE guy, you know, like just Zilla's a WWE guy. That's happening. But it's just a matter of like he's got to get his reps in still before he even comes to like NXT or whatever they intend to do with him. And yeah, I'm here for it, man. And like, I'm down with the Aboriginal representation personally.
Yeah,
as well. I'm all the way. I'm one's up, bloodline to the death of me. So I love that. But this SmackDown, man, we can talk about it quickly. We'll review this here. Mia Yim and Nia Jax kicked off the show with a match. However, I believe didn't like Tiffy come out, or it opened with Stratton coming out. Yeah. The Money in the Bank. Bayley interrupts. You know what? Tiffy really stood out. I thought Bayley came off not as strong as she's good, but I felt like Tiffy really shined in this more than Bayley. And then Jax comes out and I thought she was really good too. She's really stepped up promo wise, work wise. And then she had a match with Mia Yim, and Mia Yim's this girl who's floating around just like having good matches. She's just the solid hand, the good sister, if you will, floating around. So I'm down. I like it. And this match was okay. This guy gave it a C+. We're using Bleacher Report. Is that offensive to you? Should I be using Forbes or?
I mean, you should be using Forbes, but you should be using Alfred Konuwa. I actually used to work for Bleacher Report, so it's all love there. Okay. Before I left for Forbes, so you know it's all in the family, I guess.
Yeah.
But I thought the funniest moment of SmackDown was when Nia Jax called Bayley BBL Bayley.
Yes, that's what I was. Yeah, BBL Bayley.
Internet meme for years, Bayley's booty, and I'm new to that, like, because she would wear gear that would kind of hide her booty, but sometimes she'd be in like street clothes, and so the fact that Nia Jax addressed that was very funny.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. Here's the thing about Tiffany Stratton. This is something people are going to forget about Tiffany. As much of a character as she is, as good on the mic as she is, and she's, you know, when all is said and done, she's going to probably be one of the best promos in history because she just knows her character so well. When she was NXT Women's Champion in NXT, I watch NXT every week, but at that time I was covering the shows for Wrestling Inc. and I was doing a podcast. So I was really, really paying attention to everything that happened. And she was not a good promo. I don't know if it was she was nervous or having to carry promos by herself in a live audience arena. She showed some flaws there and she struggled. And she was not women's champion for very long. And I don't want to say that's why, but she was not women's champion for very long. And I consider her run as women's champion in NXT as somewhat of a disappointment. So I was a little nervous seeing her with this Money in the Bank. Okay, you got to start out SmackDown in front of 10,000 people cutting a promo by yourself. How's this going to work? And I thought she knocked it out of the park. I thought, she did a great job. And I think the story you tell here, I think it's going to be the best story possible. And I hate that they already gave away tension between Nia and Tiffany. But the thing that you do is you have Nia beat Bayley, and the story is Nia and Trish and Tiffany Stratton are a team, but Tiff has got this briefcase and Nia's got the belt.
Yeah.
And it's like, when's she going to cash in? What I would love to see, not to finish big too much, but like months, you have Nia with this belt from now until the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. And you work something out to where Tiffany Stratton comes to the ring with Nia Jax supporting her. And something happens to Nia, and Tiffany cashes in during the Royal Rumble. Like, if you can work that out somehow, it would be great.
That could be cool, yeah, because we've never seen that too. That's unique. I like that. I like that you fantasy mark book that, man. You've been killing it today with those, dude. For real. You got to write for them. They got to WWE. You got to be listening. You got to hire this. You got to hire me too, though. But this guy first.
We got to come on a package deal.
Yeah, no doubt. But do you want to know why I use Bleacher Report? Because they're owned by like Warner, are they not?
Yes, they are.
So there you go. So I expect the bias. Like I want to use my opinion. That's why I did it ever since the start of the show. I used to use this other website, but it was, I don't know, they weren't getting their things up on time, their reviews. And so I'm like, if it's biased towards WWE, I'm going to call it out. And you know what I mean? So that's why I always go to Bleacher Report. But yeah, maybe I should have used Forbes. Next time you come on, we're using Forbes and Alfred Konuwa.
Bleacher Report is fine too, but
yeah. So one of the stories going on throughout the night is like Chelsea Green's waiting backstage for Nick Aldis. What did she call him? Nicholas Prickles. And then LA Knight comes out of the office at some point. He comes out, cuts a promo. Later, it was pretty solid. But we had Baron Corbin and Apollo Crews versus Angel and Berto. And I thought this match was better than I thought it was going to be when I heard Crews and Corbin were going to be teaming together. What was your thoughts on it?
I'll tell you what, the match was more over than I thought it was going to be. And I was pleasantly surprised at how much these fans were into Baron Corbin. They were Let's Go Corbin chants. They did that great spot where Apollo Crews yeeted Baron Corbin over the top rope onto Legado del Fantasma. I mean, these unfortunately are two teams in an era of WWE that's so hot. It just stands out that much more when somebody isn't as hot or isn't involved in some long-term storyline. And unfortunately, these four, Legado del Fantasma, even with Santos Escobar, who WWE had high hopes for, they're really not in the mix. And it's unfortunate because all these guys are talented, but you're going to have points like that where they're just not going to be in the mix. But it was good to see them on TV, and it was even better to see fans care about this match so much.
Yeah. I think they up by not having these Berto and Carrillo in the LWO because like their grandfather, I believe it was their grandfather, I think it was their grandfather or their uncle was legitimately in the LWO in WCW. And so
wasn't it Hector Garza?
Hector Garza. Yeah, that's who it was. Was that their grandfather? I can't remember.
So I'm not 100%. I'm pretty sure that's it.
Yeah. So either way, so I thought these guys should have been in it for sure. So the fact they like swapped the Legado guys with these dudes, I don't know. I thought that was weird. And I think, I don't know. That's just me personally, I would have had these dudes in it. Cause I think these two, Berto and Angel, I think are like the most slept on team. To me, they would be in the mix. Like, yeah, they'd be doing jobs, but they both can play heel and babyface. And I think they're so underrated. But hey, I don't know. That's
I think especially Angel is underrated. I think WWE fumbled heavy with Angel when he was in NXT.
It was.
You
amazing.
could argue there was a point in time where he was the biggest heel in NXT, but then he became the biggest babyface because he'd do this thing where he'd wrestle in pants and he'd build, and then he'd rip the pants off and people would go crazy. And I was just thinking that is such a main roster gimmick that there's no way WWE can screw that. And they now he just comes out.
They even did the proposal thing, man. They had his girl come out and he proposed to her in the ring and stuff, dude. Like, so they had this chip stacked on him, but I think that Vince era really just threw a lot of shit off, man. That's all it was, you know, when he was usurping the power. Yeah, they're trying to kick me out. They found my text messages, unfortunately, but I brought you a kitten. I don't know if you anyways, though. So Blair Davenport and Naomi, is it just me or is Blair like not trying? LA Knight, that's a good problem with her. Blair, she just seems like she's not doing the damn thing like she was before on the main roster, and I'm not really into this whole Blair Naomi situation. Your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's just something that's coming out of nowhere. It's giving Naomi something to do. It's giving Blair a purpose. But this caught me as it was giving, we drafted her and don't know what to do with her. And they did all they could with her with that video package. But the thing is, it's like she was victimized by that. This happens to one wrestler a week. And I wouldn't wish this on any wrestler. But every week on WWE TV, whether it's Raw or SmackDown, there's somebody who you give them a video package or whatever. They go into the ring, but then they go and air like 5 or 6 backstage vignettes. And they say, oh, WWE's coming to New York and this, that, and the third. And then like 10 minutes later, it's like, oh, by the way, we've got Blair Davenport. She's just waiting in the ring. You know, yeah, okay, now back to you, jobber. So it's hard for the building to care about somebody where it's like they know that this person's just been standing around. They cut their music off. They're just waiting around. They're doing jumping jacks. And then finally it's time to wrestle. So I think she was victimized by that. But to your point, it didn't feel like she had much of a purpose on this show. She's very talented, Bea Priestley. She's not like a traditional developmental type. She, she's just as good as any wrestler on the card. They just need to find out what to do with her. And this dark and creepy stuff, like they're trying this with Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, and it is not working. And I feel like they're going that same direction with Blair Davenport. They're trying to do this with Tatum Paxley, and it's not working.
I know.
I love Winnie Chu, but I don't think it's working that much with her. So either you make them all one big stable or something, or you just like try to, they're doing it great with the Wyatt Six. So whatever, like maybe it's Rob Fee. Maybe you get Rob Fee in here and have him control all these dark and creepy storylines. But it is not working for the majority of women and people that they're doing this with.
Yeah, just there's too many like, oh, I'm dark and spooky and sexy girl. Like they tried to do it with Thea Hale when she was with JC Jane for a second there, and they abandoned that. I was cooking that on PWT Podcast. I was like, that's Thea Hale's good because she's not like that. She's unique in her own way, and they're just gonna make her the bad girl, Sandra D or whatever. And they did it with Julia Hart and Sky Blue over in AEW. You see it everywhere, man, and it's just like enough already. Put them all together. And here's the thing. I like Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. They're like the witches that allure you into the forest at night. And, they're dancing around a cauldron and shit. That like that movie Witch or whatever it's called, that sort of thing. So I'm into that. But yeah, put them all together. Make it like a coven of witches or whatever. They do it in TNA. They make it kind of work, But either way, I'm not trying to bury Blair either. I'm not into this.
I wouldn't discourage them for trying. Like, it's great that they keep trying these spooky gimmicks, but it's like blame the Undertaker because the Undertaker works so well, and you could argue he's the greatest WWE character in history. And it's a spooky supernatural gimmick that if you don't suspend your disbelief and you look at it for what it is, it's ridiculous. But Mark Calloway made it work so well that it became an iconic character. So that's what WWE is going for every time they do this. And you've just got, it's like what Eminem did to white rappers. Like
they gave him all faith.
Like Eminem, he came out with The Death of Some Shady, which I thought was a great album. And I love Eminem, but it's like because of Eminem, and Eminem will tell you this, you come out with this legion of white rappers where it's like, yeah, you'll get a Jack Harlow, but then you'll get an MGK and you'll get all these other injured MGKs.
You get an Asher Roth thrown in the mix, an Asher Roth,
yeah, Asher Roth.
Yeah. Oh man, shit. DIY though, we were talking tag divisions before. Obviously, there's some dissension between A-Town Down Under. They're gonna feud. Austin Theory, they're gonna turn into the babyface. And DIY got those straps, and WWE, they uploaded or whatever. I don't know if it was on X, and then it was also they aired it on the SmackDown before Money in the Bank there. This like great package, like hyping up the tag teams and what they mean to the history of pro wrestling and WWE in general and the lineage of these titles and da-da-da-da. And then they put them on DIY, who could, in my opinion, because these guys can have a match with any team. Now, I loved your fantasy Mark booking. I loved it earlier in the show. However, I think the reason these two have the belts, name another team they could fight right now. Oh, the Authors of Pain. Is that what we're gonna get? Like, they even won a match? What's another team? Now this team's breaking up, and Theory, A-Town Down Under. Yeah, they're a good team, but they were kind of just a thrown together. Here's two NXT guys that were called up. They're both like cocky, arrogant type dudes, but I do like the team. I like them together, Waller and Theory, but let's be honest, they're kind of two singles who were put together, I think they put these tag titles on Ciampa and Gargano, who get a miscommunication. They defend them in a whatever match, but because I think Motor City's coming in, and I think Lucha Bros are coming. I think they're going to make the next initiative is we got to bring back tag team wrestling. That's my opinion personally. I don't have any insight on that, but that's what I'm foreseeing. DIY are the team that can have a match with, if Motor City are going to just debut randomly, they could have a good match with, it's not like Ciampa and Gargano touch them a bunch, but they don't have to touch anyone a bunch to have a good match. That's my opinion on it, dude. But you are right about the Fraser Axiom thing. So I'm torn now, but that's my prediction
is very valid. Your opinion is extremely valid in terms of I completely agree with it, because look who's booking the product is Triple H. And when he was booking NXT, I would argue he was more focused on the tag team. Like some of the best matches in NXT that you were not able to follow were the tag team.
Alpha Academy.
They had Alpha Academy. They had the Street Profits. They had DIY. They had FTR, who was a revival.
Enzo and Cass.
Enzo and Cass is one of the greatest tag teams, main roster or not. Like, that's one of the greatest tag teams that ever existed. If you looked at how they booked them, they had the
Ascension. Ascension.
Yes,
Fuck, man.
Exactly. And
let's go. Wyatt family started there. Like the tag team acumen aside, but like they were a good faction. They were a team. Like
the Vaudevillains. They had.
Oh
and these
my
were
god!
Tag teams. These were like coordinated. It wasn't like Apollo Crews and Baron Corbin, where it's like, they're both bald. Let's put them in a tag team. It's like these guys are coordinated. Like these are two characters that play one character as a tag team. And so Triple H, you could see his booking, and it's my booking is fantasy booking, and who knows? It's a lot of our fantasy booking doesn't come true. Let's just be honest. That's why it's fantasy booking. But I completely see that, like Motor City Machine Guns coming in and really defining that tag team era in WWE. Yes, I can absolutely see all these tag teams coming in, and Triple H making the tag team division a big deal.
And that's how you pitch it to Motor City. Like, guys, we'll bring you in. Here's a good amount of money or whatever. We see the value in you. Look, you have office jobs when this is done, probably a Hall of Fame induction, and neither of you are going to be world champ, but you'll take our new WWE tag titles, and you will be the people who usher in the two vets who help carry in this new alongside DIY and alongside. I'm not saying the Lucha Bros, that's a stretch, I know, but hey, and I don't know. You have Ethan Page and Josh Alexander, who is like backstage at Heatwave, the TNA, the North reuniting in WWE somehow. That's a main roster tag team if I ever heard one. So I don't know. I'm just fantasy Mark booking too here, but all I'm saying is they just gave DIY the quick defense, and these guys are broken up, and this is the only other real team. So who the fuck's going to come in and fight these guys? The Authors of Pain, it can't just be them. They're pretty much a glorified job team. So, and and then isn't New Day over, or who's on Raw? That's what I'm saying. There's no teams. Yeah. It's got to be the Motor City Machine Guns.
The New Day's there, but they're kind of teasing that the New Day is going to split, which I really don't think is going to happen, or at least if it does, it's not going to be a long-term thing. But yeah, they've got some teams on Raw, but they definitely have to build this back up, because WWE in getting hot, everything got rebuilt. Everything got a new coat of paint and became hotter. NXT got hotter. The men's division got hotter. The women's division got hotter with all the stories they were telling with Damage Control. And the tag team division main evented WrestleMania for the first time since WrestleMania 1. So everything got hot. But if you were to argue one division that has kind of fallen off, it is the tag team division.
Yes.
Like they are kind of trying to rebuild that. And I think they're in the midst of that.
Yeah, I agree. And again, just to add a little bit to what I'm saying, now maybe I'm completely wrong, and you're right about the NXT thing, because what happens is after the match, we spend so much time on it, but Jacob Fatu comes flying out, body check, his flying body move, beats down the tag champ single-handedly, and he comes out and starts hitting his Arabian press flip move, the springboard Arabian press moonsault or whatever. He hits that on Gargano, and then he pulls Ciampa to the middle of the ring. I swear to God, the guy's not three-quarter, I'm just being exaggerative, but he's like 60% across that goddamn ring. Jacob Fatu does that springboard moonsault. The whole crowd, you see with hands on their heads, you see kids just terrified looking at this dude like, what the? Just go back. I watched that probably 15 times, rewound it, played it again probably 100 times, just this beatdown segment. And I was looking at the fans and there's people like, when the Undertaker, people are like, what the is this guy? There's kids like who just are sitting there like, I don't know, man, expressionless. Like I don't want to say like when the Undertaker came out, but damn near, they're like, this guy's crazy. Like, who is this guy? And they don't even fully really know who this guy is yet. He's only appeared a handful of times. Man, is he making an impact? He looks better than ever. Jacob was a guy who, when I was watching him before, I was sitting there thinking like, man, he's got a lot of wear and tear on his body by the time he's getting to WWE for all the crazy he's done. No, he got himself in the best shape ever. And they attacked the tag champs. Why? Because in my opinion, also, you got the GODs there, but it seems as though Loa's not really wrestling. I don't know what's going on with that. Is that like a body thing? He kind of was done in New Japan. Everyone was like, no, he's done. Like, he isn't really. So
I just love Tangaloa, but like there's like, you can't just go off memes and stuff like that, but there is like a thread that of him just kind of being on another page with somebody or being slower. And like he had that unfortunate moment where he low blowed Kevin Owens in the butt and had to do it again. But like, I think the Gorillas of Destiny can still work. He doesn't seem, I wouldn't say he's washed, but I think that they can work as a tag team in WWE. And there will come a time, probably sooner rather than later, where the Bloodline is going to start winning titles and you're going to put all the belts on the Bloodline.
Well, I think that's going to happen soon. Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. No, 100%. And to your point about Jacob Fatu, like not only did he hit that moonsault 60% across the ring, like he almost missed Ciampa. Like he hit the moonsault, don't get me wrong, but he could have gone further. Like he hit Ciampa with the top of his body doing a springboard moonsault 60% across the ring, and people immediately started chanting holy. Like there is just a different energy about this guy where he doesn't sell a goddamn thing, nor should he. And I think the fact that a lot of people, we know who he is because we follow, I see him at GCW when he comes to LA and we watch the indies and stuff like that. But the fact that people don't know who he is and he is dominating people like Randy Orton helps him, to where it's like, who is this guy? Like, this is like, you think he's invincible because you don't have any point of reference. It's not like, why is Jinder Mahal beating up Randy Orton? Like, he hasn't been ruined. It's like this stranger who's coming in and killing everybody.
Dude, and like the height he got on the springboard where he did the best moonsault ever, dude, the height as well. Like, dude was 20 feet in the air. My God, he was 20 feet in the air. I swear, we measured it. Yeah, but like, dude, just you couldn't ask for like a better debut and all of that. But I think what it's going to be is Tama Tonga and Jacob are going to win those tag belts. But we're obviously going to get a GOD's Usos match. I've been making that match on 2K games for the last like 5 years. So we're about to make that happen for real.
I got to come on here. We got to do some simulations then in terms of you do the AI simulation of GOD versus the Usos and see who wins.
Yeah, dude, we got to do that. But ultimately what happens is Cody Rhodes comes out. He says he's willing to defend, or like Solo comes out, whatever. They stand over the tag champs. I'm sure we're going to see the belts. I don't want to see them get juggled around, but I'm sure this is why they attack the tag champs, right? Like the Bloodline are going to get these tag belts. And maybe I'm wrong about them injecting the life into the tag division, but I think we're on to something with that, Alfred. You and I will catch up again and update the good listeners on it. But either way, Cody Rhodes comes out, and earlier in the show, Randy Orton's sitting there and he's like, yo, and he's backstage with Cody and he says, look, the Bloodline are gunning for you. I know I'm going to stay back here, but like whether you like it or not, I'm going to come help you if they try and with you. And after this story's all done with your journey with the Bloodline, a lot of people are going to be gunning for that belt, and I'm going to have your back then too. And Cody's like, I appreciate you. It's good. Yeah, good, pal. And then Orton, Cody comes out. The Bloodline, of course, start beating him down. Orton comes out. He starts beating them up. Of course, Jacob gets the upper hand. He's the monster. He starts taking everyone out. They do Orton the way they did Paul Heyman. They powerbomb him through the table. But while they do it, they like tied Cody in the ropes before, and he's draped like, I don't want to say like his arms are draped in the ropes like crucifix style, you know, and he's trapped there and forced to watch Randy get power bombed, and then the show goes off the air with the camera on the Bloodline, who are standing on the outside of the ring with the ones up, and Cody tied up in the ropes, and just a phenomenal picture perfect visual to go off the air. Makes me want to see more of the show. That's the other thing, not to bring it to AEW, but it's like the show will go off the air and the dude's like, oh, he's like getting up still or whatever. You know what I mean? And this is like a great visual, like the impression leaving me wanting more, and just another phenomenal segment. And the Bloodline are taking every single person out. Who's gonna help Cody? You have a feeling, you know, John Cena's talking about 40 dates. I don't know when they start, but I mean, he's got, you know, Solo beat him last time, so maybe he gets some too. Who knows? But I'm just so happy with all of this. I can't wait to see what they do. Even when the Bloodline story and Solo, people were saying, oh, it's like taking a dip or like a curve. To me, I just say it's ebbs and flows of storytelling. Not every episode can be the best episode. You know, not every episode can be the season finale. Not every episode can be, you know, like what's a popular Simpsons one? I don't know. I don't watch that anymore, but you get what I'm saying. Even the ebbs and flows I've enjoyed, and I just enjoy the story so much. The shot to end it was awesome. The SmackDown was decent, but I just think the Bloodline stuff is enough to carry it all through. And just Jacob, lasting impression. Your thoughts on just the beatdown and basically what are your predictions, I guess, for SummerSlam while I have you here? Like, we're getting Solo Cody. You know, what do you think like we're looking at leading into it and coming out of SummerSlam, basically?
You know, I think I love the main event angle. I love the Jacob Fatu involvement, and I even love their long-term storytelling of Randy Orton backstage. Like, hey, when these guys start coming for that strap, I'll have your back. It's like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, you'll be the guy. Like, Randy Orton's definitely the next time we see Randy Orton, because he just laid him out. He's probably going to take a nice little vacay, which is weird because I thought Randy Orton versus Cody would be the SummerSlam match. It's clearly not. But I do think Randy Orton's going to come back and he's going to turn on Cody. And I think Randy Orton versus Cody Rhodes is going to be the match in Survivor Series for the WWE title. And then they're going to do the Bloodline War Games. They kind of, if you're looking at, I don't know, they could make Solo the champion. I'm not ruling out Solo winning because they've heated him up. They've done a great job with him. And I love the fact, and this is something that AEW struggles with, is that now there's legitimate doubt of, like, I could see Solo Sikoa becoming world champion.
I know, it's crazy.
You know, you could use that to have him feud with Roman for a little bit, and maybe that's your world title match. I don't know. Because The Rock versus Cody Rhodes, A, doesn't need a title if it's a WrestleMania match, and B, they could compete for the People's Championship. So, like, I don't know. But I see Cody Rhodes beating Solo Sikoa at SummerSlam. And but I just think that they've done such a great job building up the Bloodline that it's going to be Cody versus Solo at SummerSlam, and I think Cody's going to win. And then Roman Reigns is going to return either to cost Solo the match, or the thing about Roman Reigns returning at SummerSlam, it's like maybe they do put the belt on Solo. He's celebrating. He's got the bead and the belt, and you all of a sudden, ladies and gentlemen, and so Paul Heyman comes back and he brings out Roman Reigns.
How many weeks till SummerSlam, dude?
Like a couple of weeks. It's August 3rd.
Yeah, it's like 2-3 weeks, right?
Yeah,
2 weeks. 3 weeks. Oh man. Do you think Heyman comes back that soon? That's what I'm worried. I'm like, is it too soon? Like, do we get Cody in the Avengers versus the Bloodline, the new Bloodline at this War Games, and then they do the Bloodline versus Bloodline next year? Or do you pull the trigger now? If it's me, I'm pulling the trigger now, dude.
Me too.
You don't know about next year.
How hot this Bloodline, like the level that they've gotten, and it's funny because I say you don't know how hot they're going to be, and they've been able to keep them hot for 2 years running. You know what I mean? Or even longer than that, because that's those two WrestleManias with the Bloodline. The Bloodline was already hot WrestleMania 38. So 3-4 years of Bloodline's been red hot. So yes, they can keep this going, but you know, you don't want to always just kind of rely on the Bloodline. If it's hot right now and you've got Jacob Fatu and you've got Roman Reigns, who's, you know, really got one foot out the door. Roman Reigns is going to transition into Hollywood sooner rather than later. So I think you've got everybody there. You've got Jimmy Uso ready to return. it's November is a couple of months away. That's still long-term storytelling to where I think you do the Bloodline War Games. You could do it this year. You could do it next year too.
And yeah, so that was our review of SmackDown and kind of predictions of SummerSlam. And